Get into it, Coach Colin here. What you're about to see is someone who this is a new strain of TDS, Trump derangement. This is a completely new strain. Destiny has completely melted down. His wife left him. I don't know if he gets to see his kid. There's a lot of stuff going on with this guy, and then all of a sudden it seems like Trump is just, no matter what, he's just plowing through all of the speed bumps that they're throwing at him. He even gets shot. It makes his approval rate go through the roof. It just seems like he's going to win this thing pretty easily, even with Biden stepping down. And this has caused Destiny's brain. If you don't know Destiny, he's the guy with the blue hair who had the open relationship with his wife. She ended up leaving him. He's a debater, even though he's not good at debate. Somehow gets a debate with Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens, Lex Friedman, Norm Finkelstein, like just a bunch of people. He's on Piers Morgan somehow. He's not even good at the thing that he's known for. It makes no sense, but somehow here he is. And recently he's just been saying the most vile thing about anybody who is conservative, Republican, on the right, Trump supporter. He's gotten kicked off of platforms. One was a streaming platform. I think he got demonetized on not on YouTube, but on Twitter. He's not getting any money from there. His life is just down spiraling so much. And this is just more than anything. And we're going to get to some jokes, but more than anything, this is a warning to people. No matter what side you're on, don't let yourself get this vile, this disgusting. It's just crazy what this guy has to say. Let's kick it off with this clip first.
Center, as you know, of a massive online response to what you were saying, and I want to go through what you said, and I want to talk to you about this hopefully in a calm manner to try and understand what you were thinking. So on Saturday evening, hours after the shooting, you said, let me clarify, when I say conflicted, what I mean is I lean towards seeing it as a natural extension of the thing Trump and the MAGA kids support. So I don't think I have much sympathy about the attempt enough to chastise people celebrating it. You couldn't find it in your heart to chastise people for celebrating the near assassination of a man who was president of the United States and maybe again?
Absolutely not. Conservatives have completely bled that well dry. And the idea that they, after engaging in the most divisive and most extreme rhetoric that this country has seen in recent history, that they would come on and beg for sympathy, that it's escalated into some kind of violent confrontation is absolutely insane. Even the idea right now of saying, well, if you call somebody a Nazi for so long, it's, what do you expect people to do? I grew up listening to Rush Limbaugh call Obama a communist every single day he was on the radio. You've got conservatives that talk about how the mRNA vaccines were ways to sneak microchips into us. You've got COVID lockdowns that were done because the government was trying to take all your freedom away. They won't acknowledge anything that happened on January 6th. They say that the election was stolen and that your country is being taken from you. Like, I don't think anybody should be killed. I don't think anybody should go out and kill anybody. But when you engage in this type of rhetoric and when you turn the temperature up over and over and over and over again, there is absolutely no room for you to be shocked or surprised. And there certainly isn't room for you to ask for sympathy.
But Destiny, you say you don't want anybody killed. And yet you say, I don't think I have much sympathy about the attempt to chastise people celebrating it. It's people celebrating the near assassination of Donald Trump. If you can't find it in you to chastise people who do that, aren't you just as despicable as the people you've just spent the last 2 minutes haranguing?
No, because they've led the way. This is the environment that they've created.
So you think behaving like the people you think are despicable is the correct course of action?
Not about behaving like the people who are despicable would be leading that type of rhetoric. It would be denying every single bad thing. How many times as a liberal? How many times as a liberal have you been on a show? Not you in general, but like a liberal been on a show and you've been forced to disavow all of the BLM riots, disavow all of the violence, and blah blah blah. And then you talk to conservatives about it. January 6th,
violence,
that was
that's
a false
good.
flag.
Yeah.
January 6th. Oh, like conservatives disavow January 6th?
Wait. First off, there's an entire cultural machine that has lied. There is an entire
we just saw it in real time. That's it.
What?
That's why conservatives deserve absolutely zero sympathy for anything that happens as a result of their rhetoric. That's it. It's so easy. Like, it's so simple.
I'm not exactly sure what he's talking about, but I would say this is the type of person that the internet has broke their brain, thus leaving them with very little empathy for their co-human. I mean, a good, decent father is now dead because of this. He's had his brains blown out because he was defending his wife and daughter. I would hope that you have a little empathy for that.
Let me jump in there because we have a clip of what Destiny has said about that very thing. Let's listen to this.
F the dude, the firefighter guy, Trump, the people that support him. I just want you to know, okay, just in case you're confused or it seems like whatever. If one of you were in the crowd and you're a conservative fan of mine and you end up, getting blown away or whatever I'm making fun of you the next day on Twitter. I am 100%.
I mean, I got to say, I just found that repulsive, Destiny.
I wish that there is no room. There is no room for the hand wringing, and I will not participate in this anymore.
Oh, it's not hand wringing.
The hand wringing. No, it absolutely is.
No, it's just that you are positioning yourself.
So well.
No, but Destiny, let me explain to you.
Conservatives can say anything.
No, I'm not a conservative.
They can have any conspiracy theory.
I'm not a conservative.
They can have any plot. They can do any of these things, and then liberals are supposed to sit here and be like, "Oh my God, it's so tragic."
No, Destiny.
Absolutely.
The fact that he thinks that he's comparing what conservatives say about, I'll even, put myself in there of, saying that these people show a lot of similarities to Marxists. Some of them claim to be Marxists. I talk about how some of them are socialists, how that's a doorway into communism, and how communism is very oppressive for the people, and that's not a way of life that we would all like to experience. The fact that he's trying to compare rhetoric like that to what he just said about this firefighter and saying to his own supporters that if they were in that man's place and passed away, that he would make fun of them the very next day is so crazy. The whataboutism, if you don't know what whataboutism is, this video is a masterclass in whataboutism, because anytime anything is brought to him and what he has said, he says, what about conservatives? What do you mean? Oh, no. What do you mean? Conservatives get to say anything. What I don't hear and listen, I would condemn anybody on the right, any Trump supporter who was advocating violence, who was celebrating anyone who passed away on the left due to violence or any way, shape, or form. I would condemn that right away. I would have no problem doing it. I say all the time, don't wish death on anybody. It's not a good thing to do. It's not good for you, and it's definitely not good to put into the world, and it's not a good example to set if you have kids, and it doesn't reflect well on your mother and father either in terms of how you were raised. I'd easily say that. And the fact that he's just like, no, these conservatives, and it's like he lines up conservatives with just not being human, because he's not actually looking at the human that passed away. Corey, the father who passed away, whose wife right now is shattered, whose daughter right now just lost the father forever, He's not looking at that as a person. He's not having any sonder towards that. He's looking at that as just conservatives as a whole. That's it. That's all this is to him. Completely broken. All because of Donald Trump. All because of Donald Trump running for office. A man who's saying that he wants to unite the country. He wants to be president to all people, not just half the country. The man who's talking about peace right now. He's reaching out to black people. He's reaching out to Hispanics. He's reaching out to people like Amber Rose, and everybody knows what she looks like and what her past is like. He's reaching out to all these people, bringing them all together, trying to at least trying, who knows if he'll succeed completely, but he's trying. He's doing his thing. He's going to the South Bronx when no other person, even AOC, who's from there, no one goes there. They're all shocked that somebody actually goes there. He's going to bodegas. He's trying to shake the hands. He's trying to make an appearance. He's fighting for those people's votes. He's not hiding that he wants their vote. He's actually showing up to the places, letting them know what his vision is. Man, this guy, This guy. And honestly, again, I don't like cancel culture, but I hate what this guy has to say, especially as a father. I already have a thing with fathers because my dad wasn't around. So when I see a good father, it hits, and now I am a father, and it's like, and the thing about it is, he's a father. He has a kid that he barely sees. It's just so crazy. It's just he's become the embodiment of the tolerant left, He's become the absolute embodiment of that. It's so crazy to just take on this, oh, well, he's throwing his head back and laughing and going, oh, you don't want to, and he thinks everything's just a debate. This is what happens with people. This is why when I turn this off, I go and I be a father, and, I be normal. You can't just be in this world and this is all you are. That's exactly what he's turned into with all the hours of streaming and everything. He's turned into this person. He's made his life debate. So everything is that. So now even when somebody gets shot and killed, or when a president has an attempted assassination on him, he can't show any empathy because everything's about debate points. Everything's about the points. I'm going to lose a point. I'm going to be behind a little bit if I admit to this. And then we'll move on right now to what else he said. And it's so funny that he says they led the way. I had that written down. They led the way. That's why I'm doing this, because they led the way. Who's they? Who is the they? He's just pointing at he's just blanketing all conservatives. They led the way. It's such a crazy notion, and I can't believe Trump broke him to this extent. Honestly, also, his wife leaving him, he was in an open marriage, and he was fighting the internet, again, back to debate, fighting them tooth and nail, saying things like, she'll always come back to me no matter who she sleeps with. I'm okay with it. She always comes back to me because I'm a really cool person. And then, even though they're in an open relationship and she can do whatever she wants, she still left him. And that has to be messing with him as well, because ever since she left, he's completely just gone off, unhinged completely. And Trump just pushed him over the edge with everything Trump's been doing. Let's get to another clip where he says some more disgusting stuff. And then we're going to end it. I don't have much to say about this guy, quite honestly. I already didn't like how Destiny rolled. I already didn't like the whole just debating for the sake of debating and not being good at it. But now it's just all gone too far. But they're going to play, I think, another clip of something that he said that actually got him demonetized. So let's get into it.
Assassination of Donald Trump, which that is exactly what it was. It was an assassination attempt, yet we have, Dave, like you mentioned, all of the mainstream media putting out egregious headlines such as from CNN, Trump removed from stage by Secret Service after loud noises startles former president and crowd, which completely mistells what actually happened.
Accurate. Here this is the conservative, this is the game right now.
It is not accurate.
It's the lies right now. Fox News ran that same type of
first
headline,
of all,
right?
we are allowed in this country to ask questions. There was a lot of things that were very off on Saturday,
and other
from the way that the Secret Service handled.
So I love this country. God bless, I guess. Yeah.
You can see. There you go. He immediately resorts to
here we go.
Yes. Here we go. That is exactly the childish demeanor that I'm speaking about. On Saturday,
don't talk over each other. Let me just ask you this, Destiny. You were asked on that clip we played earlier if you'd have the same attitude if it was your parents who'd been killed at a Trump rally. And you replied, it's less end-of-life costs for me. Would I lose sleep over it? No. Do you understand how grotesque that sounds?
It sounds grotesque, but the environment that we're in right now is grotesque.
But why do you want to sound grotesque? I don't understand.
You cannot engage in.
I have to interrupt. I know I don't interrupt clips usually, but the way that he just said that, it sounds grotesque, but the times that we are in are grotesque. First of all, they're not grotesque. Go look up what that word means. They're not grotesque, especially just the common conception of when we hear the word grotesque. These times are not grotesque. But also, this is exactly what Jordan Peterson was talking about when he talked about weak men being very dangerous, being far more dangerous than men who are juice heads or men who are, hunting all the time, or they're into jiu-jitsu and martial arts and they're quote unquote into things that are seen as violent. This is why men like this are far more dangerous, because they can get into a situation where all of a sudden they look around to a few videos that they've seen and they go, wow, times are really grotesque. You know what? I'm going to have no empathy for if people die around me. And also, because I want to be right so bad, because I'm so weak and small in this way, if someone brings up my parents, I'll say, nah, you know, they should know better than to do this. Men like this are very, very dangerous, because right now he's in a position where he's just behind a computer. But if you gave a man like that power, if you gave him actual power, if you gave him any actual authority, he would be so dangerous, because he would just be like, well, of course I'm going to do these horrible things because we're in horrible times right now. He's the definition of what a weak man can do, the danger that a weak man poses on society. I know that sounds a little far-fetched, but trust me, if you hear Jordan Peterson talk about it, it makes a whole lot of sense. Sorry. Keep going.
Behavior that leads us to this point, that brings us to the precipice, and then say, wait a second, wait, are you taking this a little bit too far?
So just to be clear, hang on, Dave.
We are exactly here
just to be
because
clear,
of what conservatives have said.
Just to be
over the
clear,
last 8 years.
Destiny,
Here we are.
if it was close members of your family or close friends who had gone to that Donald Trump rally and who'd lost their lives, one did and two are critically ill, wounded, if they had died there, you would lose no sleep over that. Is that your position?
No, of course I would be sad. It would be tragic, of course. And the closer they are to you, the more sad it would be. The same way that if you had a child that, you know, tried to rob a store and the child got killed by the police, that would also be tragic and sad.
So you wouldn't think them because they're your family then? You'd have a different rule for your own loved ones.
Would I feel more upset if a person very close to me died rather than a person farther away from me died? Yeah, I think the answer there is yes.
Yeah, but you weren't just
anything.
Just to be clear, you weren't just not upset by the death of that firefighter who'd given great service as a firefighter to his country. You were gleeful and you said, F him.
I'm not. It's
Would
not
you
about
say
being
them if it was your family and friends?
Because it was a Trump supporter.
I would say that if they go to a rally like this and they support an insurrectionist president and something happens to them, I would feel sad on a personal level because they're my parents. But again, I learned from them more than anyone else. I grew up in Nebraska. You learn that if you mess around and if you do dumb stuff, that there are going to be consequences.
And would you think? All right. And would you be happy to say, you know what, F them? About your own
His
parents.
rhetoric is far more dangerous than I've ever heard anything that Donald Trump said. What he's saying right there.
Yeah.
He is saying you should have no empathy or sympathy for your fellow human. You know,
agree.
we can all disagree. We can disagree about politics, of course. We can even disagree about how the media frames things and everything else. But he's basically saying show up to a rally and get killed. And that is absolutely psychotic. I'm sorry. And you know, the other part of this that's strange when people are calling for unity right now is if this had happened to Joe Biden, if Joe Biden had been shot at and had part of his ear blown off, the very people calling for unity right now would be calling for the rest of us to be put in jail. So there's a strange asymmetry there as well.
And I would ask this.
The strange asymmetry was Biden trying to make a phone call to the wife of the killed firefighter and her rejecting the call and Donald Trump not even reaching out, okay? That's the asymmetry. When you talk about it's just politics, this is the cancerous brain rot that conservatives have fooled everybody into thinking. It's just
Man, do you see like the whataboutism where he takes this? He actually says the sentence, we can't just disagree about politics, which I don't even know what that means. Does one side have to win triumphantly? In like just all out win? Like, what does that mean? Is there force involved? You know, because we can actually disagree, and we do. Like, that's actually what the country is built on. There's a side that wins and there's a side that loses, and the side that loses is actually the side that upholds democracy, because that's the side that says, I'm going to accept this loss and I'm not going to take force upon you because I'm so upset that I lost. That is literally people just disagreeing on politics. It's so wild, the things he has to say. And then to bring up family members and the pandemic, and it's such wild, unhinged rhetoric. He doesn't even know what he's arguing, and he doesn't even know who this anger is pointed at. And again, I really do think that this anger is pointed directly at his wife, because for him to be shaking physically, if you watch closely, you can see he's actually shaking physically. His jaw's moving, and that's a symptom of something else completely. When his jaw's moving around, when he's not talking, it's very, very clear that this guy is on a dangerous downward spiral. We're going to play one more clip of Piers Morgan kind of handling business and, not telling this guy off, but kind of giving him some fatherly advice.
This is a guy who's also said that Donald Trump is like Hitler.
Yeah,
I
would
think
say,
it's the perfect cherry on
he's
top to everything.
apologized for it and said he got it wrong.
Yeah, I would say this to you, Destiny. Lester Holt asked Joe Biden last night, has he had any soul searching? Right? I think after this debate, you may want to just go away quietly and think about some of the answers you've given, and think about the double standard of demanding a certain pattern of behavior from others that you do not sign up to.
There are no more standards in American
You may or may not take my advice. You may or may not take my advice. I'm just saying, on reflection, you might conclude that the best way to persuade other people to behave in a better way is not to behave in an utterly degrading way yourself.
Perfectly said by Piers. But also, did you hear what he said as Piers was saying that? He says, yeah, when conservatives, again, right to the whataboutism, Piers is talking directly to him, and he puts it on all of the conservative movement, and then just starts saying they took away all the standards. There's no standards. First off, that statement makes no sense at all. It's almost like he's just saying things to just say things. But then on top of that, the conservatives are the ones that are begging for law and order. They're begging to see law and order. They're begging to see order at the border, order in law, for police to have more power. So to say that they're the ones taking away standards, and they're the ones that want a standard within speech, not restricted speech, but a standard across the board where people aren't getting silenced. And again, I don't like to see that he's getting demonetized and everything, but we have definitely seen conservatives get demonetized for a hell of a lot less. A whole lot less. I'm talking about just saying he instead of she. And then that person being like, that was malicious. Blood's on his hands. I want him gone. And then all of a sudden the boss calls him up and says, hey, sorry. I saw something on Twitter. I think you're fired. I'm sorry. Yeah, I know. You got 4 kids. I don't know. I don't care. I go, bye. and then the next week the person's like, I'm both anyway, and you're like, wait a second, so do I get my job back? No, your life's still destroyed. So as much as I don't like cancel culture, I do understand what's going on with this guy, and I'll leave you with this last thing that he just said most recently. Listen to this.
I'm ready for the great cleansing, dude.
Cleansing?
The cleansing.
What cleansing?
When we genocide conservatives in this country.
Are you gonna be out in the streets with your Glock?
Maybe. I gotta go back to Nebraska and grab it.
Just unhinged. Look how upset he's gotten. Just with conservatives in general. Keep in mind, this guy's a millionaire from streaming and YouTube. Like, maybe he has to pay child support. Maybe the wife hit him up for alimony. He still would be hitting high 6 figures every single year for himself after taxes. This guy has money. To be this angry at conservatives, to be this angry at Donald Trump, again, I'll leave you guys with this. This is just a warning. Don't become like this. Trump has an assassination attempt on him, and we all know what we thought right away when it came to who did this. We've been seeing people try to do things to him for so long, throughout this whole time he's been running for president. So we all know who we thought did this right away. And we didn't think one person, we thought a group of people kind of executed this on him. That they've been after him for a while, and they're finally taking it to that level. And that can anger some people. Don't let yourself get like this guy. Don't let yourself get to the point where you're saying things that are as vile as the things that you've heard him say and the things that he's insinuated about his own parents even. Don't let it get to that point. Don't let it get there. Don't. Because it's just like, that's what it looks like. What you just saw, That's what it looks like when you get to that point. Don't allow that to happen to yourself. Be above that. Be far, far above that. And you know what? And I'll leave you with this. Also, another train of thought. This guy's disgusting and everything, but also the fact that he got to sit with Jordan Peterson, Piers Morgan, Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens, there was Lex Friedman, then another debate with around Lex Friedman and like Norm Finkelstein. He's like on this panel. He's side by side with Ben Shapiro, and they're against these guys who are like real professors that have written books on things. This guy seems like a plant, especially for the fact that we're at this point right now in the country where people are calling for unity, and we're starting to see unity. We're starting to see a lot of blacks for Trump. We're starting to see a lot of Hispanics. We're starting to see a lot of middle America white people. We're starting to see them all mix. When they hit those rallies, they all start mixing. And we're starting to see the other side that's been focused on race and been focused on gender. They're starting to look at that and start to wave their finger at it. Like, that's not real. Blacks for Trump, that's not real. Hispanics, they're being silly. They're just trying to pass for white. There's a lot of slings and arrows they throw at this side. And then all of a sudden we have this guy who doesn't deserve to be in the same room with Jordan Peterson, but gets to debate him for 2 hours and lose miserably. I think there's plants out there. I think they're not just, they've taken it past the talking heads, that the Joe Scarboroughs and the Anderson Coopers. They've taken it past that. They know that other platforms online have become the thing. You know, that's actually X. Things like this have actually become mainstream, and that's now corporate media. They know that, and they've planted people who will look like Destiny. With, you know, before Destiny used to have blue hair and he's bi and this and that. They've planted people. Okay? I know they have. They're going to plant more people. They're going to plant guys that look like me that have tan tattoos and sleeve tattoos and all sorts of stuff like that. They're going to try and do that. And a part of me, like, remember everything I said, because that still stands. But a part of me looks at this guy and is like, he's a plant. And he's trying to inspire people to have this exact same attitude that he's having right now, because this came out of nowhere. And of course, it's during an election cycle. And I still believe the things we see are by design. And they know. They know to get on YouTube. They know to get on X. They know to get young people. They know. They know. And something in me thinks that this guy might be something like that. That's just me. Yeah, I got my tinfoil Speedo on, so I figured I'd use it. You know what I mean? We got to go deep sometimes. Anyways, guys, like, subscribe, turn on the notifications. Helps the channel tremendously. Other than that, I'm out.